Okay, we're up to Shechem. Oh, this is a very difficult story. Very difficult story. Where Dinah gets raped. Okay. So this is page 382, chapter 34, in the book of Genesis. Okay, here's a piece of cake. Now Dinah, the daughter of Leah, when she had born to Yaakov, went out to look over the daughters of the land. And you want to ask? I mean, don't we know who she is? I'm sorry, 382. Don't we know who she is? I mean, you know, this happens a lot in Chumash, that the relationships are spelled out over and over again. What did I tell you once upon a time about that?
You may forget that she prayed that Leah.
Okay, you took me in. Okay, I give up. Right. No, what did I tell you?
That Leah prayed that it would be a girl and not a boy. So that
No, I told you about relationships. Why relationships are repeated over and over again in a story, right, or later on. Because everything that's described in the Torah, when it's describing the event, contributes to understanding the event. And what the Torah is telling you is if you don't take into account the parentage, you won't understand what's going on in the event. Something about the parentage is in the motivation, or the background, or some kind of goal. That's why. So here we've got to understand somehow that her being the daughter of Leah, she was born to Yaakov, is related to her going out and what happened later, and these things has to be calculated that way, number one. And number two, there's a very subtle use of the language. You would never write it this way. Look carefully at the words and tell me what is. It's like. How can I say it? If someone said it, you'd think there was something wrong with him. You think something weird about him.
We had to say who she had born to Jacob.
Okay.
It's a weird phrase.
Okay, that is a weird phrase from the point of view of contemporary speech, who she had born to Jacob. But that's typically used. But there's an asymmetry.
You say the daughter of Leah and the son of Jacob. I mean, the daughter.
Okay, right. It's very funny. Who are her parents? Where did she come from? Oh, she has a mother. She's Bas Leah. Okay, does she have a father? Yeah, because you see, Leah was Yaakov's wife, and this is the child that she had with Yaakov. Yeah, but then she's Bas Yaakov also, isn't she? Bas means daughter of. Why express a relationship to a mother as daughter of Leah and not say and daughter of Yaakov or daughter of Yaakov and Leah or something? No, she's really Bas Leah. That's who she is. Oh, she has a father too? I'll tell you about that. Yeah, because Leah was married to Yaakov and Yaakov's the father. But it's like the distance between the two is very great. Look at Rashi. The daughter of Leah, and not the daughter of Jacob. Why is it stated that way? Because of her going out, she's called the daughter of Leah. For Leah too was one who would go out. As it says, Leah went out to meet him. Of her, they coined the aphorism, like mother, like daughter. Now, I want to tell you, I made a mistake about this for a long time, and I fought with my Rebbetzin about it considerably, and she finally convinced me by looking into the Meforshim. It's not obvious that this is a critique. The Meforshim are split here. Because when Leah went out, she went out to greet Yaakov when he was coming in. Remember, Leah gave some of the dudaim, the flowers, to Rachel. And Rachel said it should have been my night, but now it'll be your night. And she goes out to greet him. Some of the commentators take that as positive. She was eager to be together with Yaakov, which was a great privilege and a great opportunity, and so Dinah has this characteristic of being outgoing in that way, and they don't take it as a critique at all. Others do take it as a critique, which would mean you'd have to interpret what happened with Leah also as a critique. There you'd have to say, even though she appreciated being with Yaakov, and even though she had, and from that being with Yaakov, Yisachar was born, and Yisachar supplied the heads of the Sanhedrin, so it was a very special things developed out of it, but this way of doing it wasn't right. It was too forward for her to go out to do that sort of thing. So, but the commentaries are split, and in Rashi's words, it's hard to tell. All you get from Rashi is, like mother, like daughter, she went out and she went out, and that's what the Torah is stressing here. Right? In fact, you see, you don't get this in the English. It's in the Hebrew, it's gold. Look on 382 in the Hebrew. Vateitzei Dinah bas Leah. The very first word is, she went out. It's Dinah, the daughter of Leah, went out. So it's like the daughter of Leah is part of the going out. It's part of the description of the going out. I think that's where Chazal are coming from, and they put the two together. But this is something which, when you do this over and over and over again, and you look into the Mefarshim, you realize that you read something, and you took it naturally, and it may not be correct. I'm going to point this out. Although if you went over last week's parsha, there's something in there which, for many, many years, it says Moshe Rabbeinu at the end of the parsha he offers sacrifices, and he splits the blood in half. Half he puts on the altar, and half he puts into vessels, bowls of some kind. Right? Now, what does he do with the blood that's in the bowls? Sprinkle it on the people. That's exactly what it says in the Torah, Al Ha'am. Well, there is a very famous position that no one got their clothes dirty with blood. None. Zero. And not because it's a miracle. Unclus translates, he took the blood in the vessels and applied it to the altar in order to atone for the people. So the al in the verse is not a physical al. The al means for their sake, on behalf of them, not on their clothes. And the al can mean that. I read that and I thought, boy, oh boy. You could read it, you could know what's in the dictionary, and you could get it. At least there's a way of reading it that's totally different from what you thought. This is a never-ending process, because you all make assumptions when you read things, and then you see when you look at the Mefarshim that's not telling the assumptions are not correct. Okay, so she went out to fraternize the daughters of the land. I didn't explain what Jacob's doing here. We'll come back to that. Shechem, son of Hamor the Chivite, prince of the land, saw her, took her, lay with her, and violated her. He had his will with her, let's put it that way. This section is entitled The Rape of Dinah. I had someone here many years ago who had a strong conservative Jewish background and a use of Hebrew. He said, Rabbi, that's just a prejudice. Who told you that it wasn't consensual? After all, the verb to rape is not used here. It doesn't say rape. So I thought, that's an interesting point. So I went home and I looked up the verb to rape, which is anas, aleph, nun, samach. Guess what? It never is used in the entire 1,000 pages of Tanakh to mean to rape. In fact, it only occurs twice, and it means something else. But there is a verb to seduce, mifateh. We had it last week's parsha twice. So the verb, so by his logic, the verb to seduce is not used. That's an indication that it was rape. You can't claim that the verb to rape was not used because there isn't such verb. And vayaneha means he caused her pain. So it's just, it's certainly a rape. Now watch. The next pasuk is going to depend upon this. He became deeply attached to Dinah, daughter of Jacob. He loved the maiden and spoke to the maiden's heart. He spoke to the maiden's heart. Let's read Rashi. He'll explain to us what this means, and we'll see how you understand it. 3. Words which settle upon the heart, which appeal to the heart. He said, see how much money your father expended for the small lot of land. I will marry you. You will acquire the city and all of its fields. A little bit degrading attitude about speaking to the heart of the woman you have just raped by pointing out that you're going to get rich. A little degrading, right? Now, would you infer from these words, he spoke to her heart, that she came to admire him, came to feel comfortable with him, came perhaps to love him or care for him? He spoke to her heart. Well, between you and me, boys and girls, to speak to does not describe the reaction. It only describes his intention. I would give a parallel in English, say he appealed to her emotions. Sometimes when you appeal to a person's emotions, the person takes it as an insult. What's the matter with you? I think things through. You want to push me around with my emotions? That's an insult. The verse says nothing about her reaction. It only talks about his intention. This is all going to be important at the end of the story. Fine. So Shechem spoke to Hamor, his father, saying, take me this girl for a wife. Well now, this is the standard thing, right? This is the deal between family and family, and you pay for it, and the family agrees, and of course the wife has no say in the matter. We saw this with Rivka and with Rachel and Leah, that in our subculture that's definitely not done, but these people were Chivites. So they did it the standard ancient Near Eastern way. Now Jacob heard that he had defiled his daughter Dinah, he being Shechem, while his sons were with his livestock in the field. So Jacob silent with her until their arrival. Hamor, Shechem's father, went out to Jacob to speak to him. Jacob's sons arrived from the field. When they heard, the men were distressed, were fired deeply with indignation, for he had committed an outrage in Israel by lying with the daughter of Jacob. Such a thing is not done. Now, what do these words at the end add? Such a thing is not done. Look at the progression of thought here, right? Jacob's sins came when they heard. They were distressed, deeply fired with indignation. Why? What is upsetting them? What are they angry about? They committed an outrage in Israel by lying with the daughter of Jacob. Okay. We have our standards, and we're the in-group, and we defend ourselves against attack from without. You can put all that, fashionable sociology in. But then, what are the last words? And such a thing is not done. What's that? What's the and such a thing is not done? What's that add? So look at Rashi. Such a thing is not done to violate virgins, for the nations of the world restricted themselves from sexual immorality because of the flood. I think I told you this when we had the story of Lot and his two daughters. And you read it, we read it with horror and outrage and so forth and so on. As a matter of fact, according to many, including the Rambam, for non-Jews, there's no prohibition against father and daughter relations. So if there's no prohibition, why did the Torah make such a big deal out of it? And Chazal make a big deal of it. And the answer is because even though in the strict divine law this is not prohibited, But the nations of the world saw that one of the things which led to the flood was sexual promiscuity, so they adopted further restrictions upon themselves. And here you see the same thing. They're saying it word for word. Such a thing is not done. They had themselves their own rules. Yeah.
I mean, it's a question from something that Esav did. I think Esav's son Eliphaz had illicit relations with his daughter, and then with Dinah or something. That's why Amalek was born. Is it that the interpretation?
Some kind, yeah.
So so Eliphaz was with his daughter, right? Like it's
with his mother.
Eliphaz.
Yes, but that's not father and daughter. That's mother and son.
Right.
That's not the same. That I think is definitely forbidden for them.
Yeah, because when I saw Esav's family, I was terrified of all the things that happened there. It's very scary. So many illicit.
We do allow, even Torah law allows a man and his niece. Right? The daughter of his sibling, which normal secular law doesn't allow. I don't think so, if I'm not mistaken. So here, that's why he was afraid that Esau would ask for Dinah. So, anyway. Okay, so now, so he comes out to talk to them. Now watch the pitch. This is where Rashi got what he said before. Chumash spoke with them saying, Shem, this is the father now talking. Shem, my son, his soul longs for your daughter. Please give her to him as a wife. And intermarry with us. Give your daughters to us, and take our daughters to yourselves. And among us you shall dwell. The land shall be before you. Settle and trade in it, and acquire property in it. Can't you hear the UN applauding? We'll assimilate. We'll become one larger population. We'll be stronger thereby. We'll intermarry and share our values and our cultures. 1 second. All right, I can wait for this. So that's the father talking. That's what he's offering. Now, 11. Shem said to her father and her brothers, let me gain favor in your eyes. And whatever you tell me, I will give. Inflate exceedingly upon me the marriage contract and gifts, and I will give whatever you will tell me, and you give me the maiden for a wife. Now, do you hear something, shall I say, gross and obscene here? The first words, let me gain favor in your eyes. This is the rapist talking. Hello, you want to gain? No apology? Nothing. But now it's a question of a permanent relationship. And I know I need your permission, so I'm offering you as much money as you like. And in addition to what I'm telling you, there's something that's implied by the text and will be born out at the end of the story. Where is Dinah now? On vacation in Miami? Where is Dinah now? She's in his house. She's captive in his house. You might think that if he committed rape in a moment of uncontrolled passion, and now he wants to at least let her go home, and then ask nicely. No! This is Middle Eastern negotiations. I have a knife to the throat of your daughter. Please be nice and let me pay. What choice do you have? What choice do you have? So he talks nice, but he has her under his control. So, Jacob's sons answered Shem and her father, Hamor, with cleverness. Now, if you knew the Hebrew, you would recognize here the same word that we had when Isaac described Jacob getting the birthright, Mirma. And we said then also, and the Unclus translates in both cases, Chochmasa, with cleverness. Because we distinguish then between deception and deceit. I mentioned this just recently again. What's the difference between deception and deceit?
Always malicious.
Deceit is malicious. It's a crime. It's always bad. Deception can be good. There are times when deception is very important. So don't translate, I've seen translations, mirma as deceit, and then these holy people become associated with a terrible crime. But it's a mistake. Liramot just means to deceive. Not deceit, but deception. Sometimes justified, sometimes not justified. And here it's completely justified. Jacob's sons answered Shem and his father Hamor with cleverness, and they spoke because he had defiled their son's Dinah, their sister Dinah. That's why they said what they're going to say. They said to them, "We cannot do this thing to give our sister to a man who's uncircumcised. For this is an insult to us." Cherpa. Cherpa's, insult. It's like a disgrace, I would say.
I was wondering, I'm not sure if the editor added this in, or if it's in the Hebrew where it says because he had defiled their sister, as in indicating this. Is just the editor adding it, or it's
No. It's in the Hebrew. He put it in the parentheses just to understand its meaning. Mm-hmm. Right? Here is explaining their motivation, their mental motivation. Right? And there, I think he's right.
But wouldn't we just know their motivation, even without having that? Could we assume their motivation because the whole reason for the competition to begin with? Does it need to specify?
You'll see what they're proposing, and you'll see how it's supposed to work. I don't know. Could we have figured out afterwards that it had been so? Maybe. Sometimes the Torah emphasizes things. We're coming up now to Megillah Esther, because Esther is all, a great deal is on the surface, and it gives you stage directions. He came out and he was worried, and then he came back and changed his mind, and then it's much more prolix than other books in the Torah. So it is possible to do that. But it's a good question. I don't think Rashi says very little here altogether. Look at the way. Okay, look. I should show you this. 13. In the Rashi, this is he really writes it out here. It's very short. B'mirma. Now, your translator writes with cleverness, which is correct. This means chachma with wisdom. In other words, the wisdom that crafts a strategy that will serve a certain purpose. And that's what Unclus says. Now it says, because he had defiled. The verse states, Shelo haisa rimiyah. Rimiyah, which is the same letters, but rimiyah means deceit. And this verse is telling you it's not deceit, because it's specifying the motivation that they had for what they did. That it was not deceit. Your translator here is very good. For see now, he had defiled his sister Dinah. So this is a deception that's justified. That's what's being said. This answers your question. The point of it is not to explain their later behavior, nor is it to explain the motivation for the behavior. The point of the parenthetical remark is to explain to you how to understand the word mirma. Don't make the mistake of thinking of mirma as implying deceit here, which it sometimes does. Here it means cleverness, to be able to get what's. And remember, they're a small family, and this is a whole city. So, what are they going to do? Their sister is kidnapped there. And the prince is talking about it this way. What are they going to do? Right? So the words are here, according to Rashi. He's answering your question. What are the words here for? They're here to disambiguate the word mirma.
We shouldn't think of it as anything they're planning as revenge, you're saying, but rather as a means just to get their sister back.
Oh, that's a nice thought also. I didn't think of revenge as the alternative. But yeah, that's for sure. Mm-hmm. That's for sure. Good. But Rashi is making it linguistic. It's the pasuk is saying mirma, and then immediately the pasuk says, but don't misunderstand when I said mirma. I didn't mean deceit. I meant this was motivated by the fact that they had been suffered an outrage, and this was a response to the outrage. So it's not the crime of deceit; it's the neutral action of deceiving without that implication of crime. Yeah.
So, if this is about like the whole idea of deception, isn't Yaakov more attuned to like that kind of attribute than the sons are? Like, wouldn't he be the best man for the job to talk to them?
Gee, I always thought you were going to ask the opposite. Yaakov is called Ish Tam. Tam means pure, straightforward, and one of the descriptions of his essential characteristic is emes. Indeed, when they get married, Rachel and Yaakov, when he starts to work for her, Rachel says, "You're going to have trouble here because my father is a deceiver." and Yaakov, in the rabbinic description, he says, "Ochiv ani b'mirma." I'm just as good at deceiving as he is. Don't think that because I'm honest and truthful and straightforward that I'm stupid. I'm not stupid. And I know that at times when this sort of thing has to be done, it's necessary for it to be done. So, that being the case, he certainly is capable of doing that.
Does he have the most experience with these kinds of things?
Yeah, but you understand, he's facing a whole city. So this has got to be something which the family as a whole agrees upon. Now he doesn't make the suggestion of what to do here. There is a question about his passivity here. Mm-hmm. He saw it. He knew there was a problem that had to be solved. He waited for them to come. The brothers come up with this. And as you see, it will play out that they will succeed at what they wanted to do, and Jacob will be upset. He will not accept it. So that's part of it. Whether because Baruch Hu wanted it to work out this way and he held them back, I don't know. That far I can't go. Yeah.
Is there a difference in sort of character between when Yaakov's given the name Israel? So now do we see him as a different, which we see him as a different, not a different person, because he still has the name Yaakov, but is there now some certain traits of Israel that are showing within the text?
Okay, actually, you could have asked me much stronger. I said that once he gets the name of Yisrael, so then he's like a Tsar, like a prince, and things come to him, he doesn't have to take them away from other people, and this looks like a terrible tragedy here. So, and I think this is hinted at, although I didn't see it, unfortunately, it's in the first verse. The first verse says, Dinah, she went out, Dinah, the daughter of Leah, whom she had borne to Yaakov. So both of his parents are in the verse, just not in the same way. So now Leah, who's stressed, we explained, this one goes out, that one goes out, and there's a continuation of that characteristic. What's Jacob doing there? So the Chazal say like this, why, this is a piece of logic also, why was Dinah raped? Because when Jacob confronted Esau, we saw this, and he presented his 4 wives and 11 sons, and someone was keeping track, says 4 wives, 11 sons. What about his daughter? She's not mentioned. Just 4 wives and 11 sons. So the Chazal say, because he put her in a box, I said this 7 minutes ago, right? So that Esau shouldn't see her, so that Esau shouldn't say, oh, dear brother, we're now creating a partnership, we're creating love and acceptance and respect. I'll marry your daughter to seal the relationship, which was normal. First of all, even Torah law allows marrying your niece. And second of all, this is what Solomon did. He married the daughters of various kings in order to solidify political alliances. Right? This was a very normal thing to do. So Jacob said, not my daughter. I'm not letting my daughter put her in a risk of having to be married to Esau. Okay? Now, there's a bunch of things here. Now, when I read that, I think, right, that's right. No, don't take a chance. Don't take a chance. Who would want to have that happen? Married to Esau? Chazal say it was a crime. It was a crime. Why was it a crime? To protect his daughter from marrying Esau. Because she could have turned him around. She could have turned him around. It was a chance for him. Which tells you, by the way, that he wasn't foreordained to be evil and so on and so on. Right? So now, when we say, I quoted before, we said, why was Dinah raped? Because Jacob put her in a box, hid her. You think, but wait a minute, it just said she went out to fraternize with the girls of the land. That's not nice. Why isn't that counted as why she was raped? And the answer is, both reasons count. Both, not a contradiction, different writers and different geographical positions, different times of history, because of local culture, no, gobbledygook. No, they're both relevant. She acted in her own irresponsible way. The question is, why didn't her father's merit save her? Why did he have to suffer that his daughter was raped? When divine providence is running the world, both of these matters, and other matters as well, are taken into account. So the fact that she behaved irresponsibly does not by itself already completely explain why she had to suffer the rape. Because it's not clear why Jacob had to suffer that his daughter was raped. So he had a failure also. So it could be that the verse is hinting at that as well. Who went out? Dinah went out. Who's Dinah? Well, first of all, she's the daughter of Leah, meaning she carries the same characteristic. And also, she's the one who was born to Jacob, who now otherwise could have saved her, but didn't save her. The first verse now sort of encapsulates a great deal of the dynamics of the story. I think it works out very well. Yeah.
You're talking about the pasuk with it says like Dinah went out and whatever, looked over the windows like not. Where I know Rashi does not comment on that. Is there someone else who comments on it that like just like says what that means basically?
Well, I didn't comment on this, but
didn't you say that that was an irresponsible act on her part?
Oh yeah, but I didn't comment on the phraseology, which is liros bit. Excuse me, liros bivnos haaretz. I didn't comment on the bays. It should have said liros es bivnos haaretz. What's a bays doing there? And the answer is, we learned in Shmos also, that it means to participate with, to identify with, to share with. It's not just observation, anthropological observation. I'll take notes and I'll publish my paper. No, it's much more intimate than that. So what are you asking now?
Well, I think you just answered my question.
Okay. Yeah.
So just a quick question on, so I remember the last time we had like a son kind of over-talking their parent was with Lavan when he was like pretty much negotiating with Rabbi. But here, I know this is a completely different situation, but are the brothers ever criticized? Because it says that the father and the brothers are pretty here, but the brothers speak before, or at least they don't even mention their father, Yaakov, saying anything in this conversation. Are they criticized at all for that? At least before they actually do the act and everything?
It's a nice question. I don't know. I never thought of it. I did think of it because I mentioned before, Rashi doesn't say anything about it. I don't know. I don't know. The Midrash is vast, and I've not studied Midrash, so I could ask my wife. She knows these things much better than I do. Okay, so they said, you guys are Arelim. You're uncircumcised. We can't give our daughter to someone who's uncircumcised. Cannot do that. So, they say, only on this condition will we acquiesce to you. This is the condition we need in order for us to agree. If you will become like us, to have every male among you become circumcised. And we will give our daughters to you, and your daughters we will take to ourselves. We will dwell with you and become a single people. Yeah, the offer that you gave, we will accept with both hands open. Now look at the, I'm just finishing, then I'll come back. But if you will not listen to us to be circumcised, we will take our daughter and go. Which again indicates she's not at home. Now, I think to the people of Shechem, this sounds like just bravado. You know, all 16 of you? No, okay, they have servants, they're wealthy, and so on and so on. Still, we have a city. So, you know, but they're putting it on the line, right? You're not going to become circumcised. But now, look at if you become circumcised, we accept your offer. There'll be peace and integration and, you know, integrated and intermarriage, the whole thing. That's not serious. That's not serious. They're not planning to do that. Not till the end of the time would they ever have thought of doing that. This was just to get an incentive for them to go ahead and take the offer that they're giving. As we'll see, that then precipitates the story. Yeah.
They obviously didn't know the spiritual implications of bris milah, right?
I think that's right.
Because otherwise they would get like some schos in actually doing it.
Oh, you're very good. Rashi, Yaakov says that at the end of the story. We'll get there and we'll say it, but you're right. You're right. There's something hidden here, which Yaakov brings out at the end of the story, where he disagrees with their action. Now, there is a little detail of language here that I want to point out to you, since this is what we're doing over and over again. When Hamor gives his offer, 384, verse 9, he says, intermarry with us, give your daughters to us, and take our daughters for yourselves. And they say, 16, we will give our daughters to you, and your daughters we will take to ourselves. So they're imitating his phraseology. He made an offer, and they're saying yes to the offer. Do you see an imbalance in this phraseology? Some of the taste for literature would say, huh?
9 and 16.
This is 9 on the one hand, and 16 on the other.
Rashi talks about this, no?
Just the verses. Do you see an imbalance in the verses?
You're saying the...
Excuse me, here we raise hands. We don't just speak out. Let me introduce it and see how we would say it. Here's a Hamor says, let's be one people. And let's intermarry. Let's intermarry. You and us. We shall intermarry. Okay, now how would you describe that as far as the daughters are concerned? Wouldn't you say something like, we'll marry your daughters and you'll marry our daughters? We'll give our daughters to you and you'll give our daughters to us? We'll take your daughters, you'll take our daughters? Wouldn't that the way you would say it? Wouldn't you distribute the action equally between the two sides? How does he do it, Hamor? He doesn't distribute the action equally between the two sides.
Right.
What does he say?
You will take our daughters for yourselves.
Not all. That's not all he says.
And he offers land.
No, with the intermarriage. With the intermarriage, he has two clauses. Give your daughters to us, and take our daughters for yourselves. He's describing all the action on the side of the Jews. They're sitting there like dirt, his people. The Jews are doing, they're giving, they're taking, they're in charge, they're the ones running the show, they're the ones who are active, and his people are doing nothing.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not balanced. It should have been, you'll give to us and we'll give to you. We'll take from you, you'll take from us. It should have been balanced. It's all, the action goes on the side of the Jews. And the Yidden take it up that way. We will give our daughters to you, and we'll take your daughters to us, right? Now, in order to understand the significance of this, let's just skip ahead to when he comes home and he presents this proposition to his people. This is on page 386, in the middle of verse 21. In our thing, it's like 6 lines to the bottom. Their daughters we will take for ourselves as wives and give our daughters to them. This describes all the action is on his side. We're taking, we're giving, we're doing everything. They're doing nothing. This is what's called a metavech in Hebrew, someone who makes deals between people. What do you call it in real estate? A broker. A broker who says the deal. You paint the deal as good for each side, so you get the people to agree. When he's talking to the Jews, you're doing everything. You're in charge. You're in control. It's all your activity. You're the ones who are handling the show. When he comes home to his people, we're in charge. We're going to do it. It's up to us. We're the ones who are running the show. It can't be that each one is running the show alone. That can't be. It's all right. This is what I want you to think of it. I want you to think of yourselves as in control, and you're running the show, and everything's in your hands. And it says the same thing to the other. Right? It's just a little detail, but look how consistent the verses are. Look how consistent the verses are. Yeah? Okay, so they pretend to go along with this, and then they say, yeah, that's only on the condition of circumcision. But if not, we're going to go. Okay, 18. Their proposal seemed good in the eyes of Hamor, in the eyes of Shechem, Hamor's son. So much so, the youth did not delay doing the thing, for he wanted Jacob's daughter. He was the most respected of all his father's household. So he circumcised himself right away. And now, the deal has to be made with the town. So, okay, I mean, this is a global description. He only asked for one. Shechem wanted to marry Dinah. Conceivably, they could have said, that's fine with us, but you have to be circumcised. No. Hamor came with a proposal for a total integration. Then it has to be total circumcision. 20. Hamor, with his son Shechem, came to the gate of the city and spoke to the people of the city, saying, these people are peaceable with us. The Jews are friendly and accommodating. Let them settle on the land and trade in it, and behold, and the land, behold, is broad of hands before them. And there's lots of money in this. Their daughters will take for ourselves, the wives, and give our daughters to them. Wow. Gold. Now, only on this condition will the people acquiesce with us, to dwell with us, become a single people, that all our males become circumcised as they themselves are circumcised. Final step. Their livestock, their possessions, and all their animals, will they not be ours? Money, money, money. Okay, circumcision is a pain in the neck. Yeah, but look at the profits. Let us only acquiesce to them, and they will settle with us. So it's clear. I'm not criticizing him. Being motivated by money is perfectly all right, especially for who they are, But he's a salesman. He's a salesman. He knows how to put the proposition. That's and as I said, okay, yeah.
I'm just wondering, it's based on what you were saying before. Here it talks about, in verse 21 at the end, it talks about how, and give our daughters to them. As in they're doing the action here of giving their daughters. So wouldn't that be the reverse of what
That's what I said. When Hamor makes the proposition to the Jews, he paints it as Jews do everything. When the Jews agree to him, he paints it as Jews do everything. When he comes home to his people, he paints it as his people are doing everything. That shows you that it's meduyak. It's not just, it's precise, and he's sort of playing up to the egos of the people he's talking to. You'll be in charge. Okay. So, 24, all the people go forth with the gate, the city, listen to Hamor. These are the leaders of the city, and Shechem, and all the males, all the forth back in the city, were circumcised. Now here we go. And the third day, when they were in pain, it came to pass the third day, the two of Jacob's sons, Shimon and Levi, Dinah's brothers. So again, for the 74th time, we know that. Yeah, but that's why they're doing this. It's our sister. It's our sister who's been violated. Each took his sword. They came upon the city confidently, and they killed every male, because they were weak. They were suffering. And Hamor and Shechem, his son, they killed with the blade of the sword. I have to explain why it says that. Then they took Dinah from Shechem's house. Oh, Dinah's still in Shechem's house. I told you, it says so right at the end. And left. Isn't that what they said we'll do? We'll take our daughter and leave? Isn't that what they said they will do? That's what they did. They took their daughter and left. You have a whole city and so on. So what? We can handle you. Yeah.
What's the why is there a question whether or not she was in Shechem?
In Shechem.
You're saying, oh, like, look, she's at Shechem's house.
Because you understand that during the time of the whole negotiations, she was kidnapped. And when he says, let me find favor in your eyes, and let us be one people, and let's acquiesce to one another, be peaceable and everything else, they're holding her captive. That's how these negotiations are done in the Middle East. You know?
That wasn't a given at that time?
That what?
That she was being held captive?
And we give it to who? I mean,
to Yaakov, and I'm saying, what
of course they knew it. I'm pointing out to the reader. If you're taken in by the verbiage, it sounds like, oh, look how nicely he talks. Look how polite he is. Look how yeah. Sure, he's polite because he has her captive. What are they going to say? No. He's got it. Okay. Now, the sons of Jacob, the other ones, came upon the slain. They plundered the city, which had defiled their sister. Again, this is because of the fact they defiled the sister. The flax, cattle, donkeys, whatever was the city, whatever the field, they took. All their wealth, children, wives, they took captive, plundered as well as everything in the house. I just want to read you what Jacob says, and tomorrow we'll have to study what it means. Jacob said to Shimon and Levi, the ones who killed all the males, you have discomposed me. You've just, like, made me untenable, making me odious among the inhabitants of the land, among the Canaanites and among the Perizzites. I am few in number, and should they gather together to attack me, I'll be annihilated. I am a household. So you've put me in danger by what you did. And they said, should he treat a sister like a harlot? And should he get away with it? So they're expressing, now you said this before, and there's one of the things which you mentioned was being excluded, now comes back in. Is there an element of punishment here? Yeah, there's an element of punishment. There's an element of salvation, getting their daughter out of that, being kidnapped. And, of course, they're not going to become one people. And then how are you going to master a whole city? Then that's the subterfuge to get them to agree to something which will make them weak and vulnerable, so they'll be able to take her back. And there's a whole discussion here. They killed them. Now, what right did they have to kill them? And so forth and so on. But we have to understand also the different attitude between Jacob and Shimon and Levi. It doesn't say about the other brothers. You're only talking to Shimon and Levi. But Jacob criticizes them for having put him in danger, and their answer seems to be, we recognize that. We recognize that there's danger here, but still, it had to be done. So we have to understand the dynamic. And then just because we talked about this, it says he traveled on, and the fear of God was on the mountains surrounding, and no one pursued him. That's where Yisrael comes in. You don't pursue Jacob. No, sorry, you don't do that. You don't do that. Yeah.
So are you saying the fear of God was on the mountain as a result of Shechem, as a result of what happened in Shechem?
No, in spite of what happened in Shechem. In spite of what happened, he was protected. No one dared to chase after him, and he hasn't gotten a name change officially yet. That's coming up. Yes. I'm sorry, what?
There's a line here, the sons of Yaakov came upon the folks and they plundered this, and maybe the translation is different, they plundered the city that had defiled their sister. So there's an idea that the city itself produced the sin that caused this tragedy. Very,
very good diuk. Very good diuk. This is something which we see over and over again. Odessa has a whole essay on it. When Joshua conquers Jericho, he makes a law: no one should take any plunder from the city. Nothing. One man named Achan takes gold, silver, and clothes and hides them, so that when he comes back, he can recover them. The next city they attack is the city of Ai. There wasn't supposed to be any opposition. It was supposed to be like a hot knife through butter. Well, the inhabitants of Ai come out and they fight with the Jewish soldiers and they kill some, and the Jewish soldiers retreat back to camp. That wasn't supposed to happen. So Joshua inquires of Kodesh Baruch Hu, and he says, Kodesh Baruch Hu says, you made a ban on plundering the city. The people have, plural, they have plundered and stolen and hidden and so forth and so on. So then, according to the oral tradition, Joshua asks God, so who is it so we can punish them? And he said, whom am I going to tell you? There's a certain procedure that they go through and they investigate the people with a miracle. Only Achan is guilty. And he admits it and he's punished, and then they conquer Ai with no difficulty. So clearly only one man was involved. How come the description of the crime says the people, plural, have done these things, when only one man actually did it? Says Rav Dessler, you have to trace back to the causes of the crime. What is Achan going to do with that money? Gold, silver, and clothes. You know, the coat with the Jericho cut. You know, what is he going to do with them? He's going to use them. Is anybody going to find out? Probably his family will find out. All of a sudden he's got gold and silver. What about the clothes? Even if he wears them at home, you know, his children will know. So that means he's not afraid of being discovered? No. He's not afraid. People will take it. Yeah, okay, there was a ban. There was a ban. And I violated the ban. Things happen, and people have needs, and so on and so on. That means a lack of moral strength in the community. Because if he anticipated that his children would report him to the Sanhedrin, and he would be banned by the Sanhedrin, and at least be ostracized, and no one would look at him, and if he anticipated that, he never would have done it. So there's collateral responsibility on the community, which didn't set the kind of standards that would have prevented him from doing it. And I think the same thing applies to the cases where we have communal standards which produce very good results. The statistics on drunkenness in the religious Jewish community are famous. They're very, very low. It's not only a matter of self-control. Nobody wants to do that. If a person becomes drunk, he's degraded. He's degraded. He loses status. He loses his respect of people. That social standard prevents people from doing this. Not 100%, but much more so than I remember when I was not religious. When I was in high school. Mm-hmm. You know, if you got drunk, you bragged about it. Came to school and, you should have seen me yesterday. I was plastered. You know, I was climbing the walls and happy and proud of it. Well, that culture will not prevent drunkenness. It will promote drunkenness. And in our case, you can't do that. So the communal standards are very important. And when somebody commits a crime and you can infer that their communal standards were lax, that presents responsibility on the community as well.